नमस्ते सबैजना, म भुवन कोचमीको तर्फबाट अर्को जेनजीको सेसन लिएर आएको छु। आज हामीसँग फेरि इन्ट्रेस्टिङ गेस्ट हुनुहुन्छ। कहिले हुनु नथ्यो र होइन, जहिले पनि एभ्री जेनजी गेस्ट इज भेरी इन्ट्रेस्टिङ। नयाँ आइडियाजहरू, नयाँ कन्सेप्ट्स, पर्सेप्सन्सहरू लिएर आउनुहुन्छ। I think this is the second time we're doing भनौँ न जेनजी सेसन चाहिँ जो चाहिँ we're not stationed in Nepal, बाहिरै बस्नुहुन्छ। सो आजको गेस्ट चाहिँ इभाजी हुनुहुन्छ, इभा केसी। सी इज बेस्ड इन अस्ट्रेलिया अनि सी इज 19 years old अनि डुइङ फोरेन्जिक साइन्स होइन। सुन्दाखेरि नै अलिकति डरलाग्दो सुनिन्छ, तर विल एक्सप्लोर द्याट एज वेल। सो सी इज बिन इन अस्ट्रेलिया सिन्स grade 3 and she loves putting together outfits रे अनि she loves makeups अनि fashion भनौँ न होइन। So she's into fashion as well। मैले उहाँको Instagram पोस्टमा हेर्दाखेरि पनि I think that was mentioned। अनि she loves going out to eat। त्यो पनि हामी अलिकति डिस्कस गरौँला। That sounds very interesting। अनि she loves momos रे होइन। So as soon as she wrote she loves momos अनि उहाँको नेपाली हुने कुरामा चाहिँ कुनै पनि शङ्का नै रहेन, कुन चाहिँ नेपालीलाई मोमो मन पर्दैन होइन। अनि त्यसपछि सी इज अब्सेस्ड होइन, यो वर्ड नै अब्सेस्ड विथ मेकिङ टिकटक भिडियोज। अनि अहिले सायद धेरैजना त्यतातिर नै हुनुहुन्छ होला, टिकटकतिर नै। अनि देयर इज अ लट अफ अब्सेसन देयर एन्ड आई थिङ्क सी इज युज द्याट वर्ड भेरी सोचेर इन्टेन्सनली। सो त्यो पनि बुझौँला होइन। अनि सी लभ्स लिसनिङ टु क्राइम पडकास्ट। अब यो पनि हामी बुझौँला अलिकति उहाँको स्टडीसँग रिलेटेड भएर पनि। आई थिङ्क द्याट्स वेयर द इन्ट्रेस्ट कम्स फ्रम। द्याट्स वाट आई नो अबाउट हर सो फार होइन। मैले धेरै कुरा भन्नुभन्दा पनि लेट्स जस्ट ब्रिङ अन द स्क्रिन एन्ड देन गेट दिस कन्भर्सेसन गोइङ।
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. यो लकडाउनको पिरियड अब हाम्रो चाहिँ we've just I think at the end of the lockdown I think we're easing into normal life. Fortunately for you guys, Australia has been quite lucky in so many ways with COVID and all that. तर लकडाउनको पिरियडले चाहिँ it has given me opportunity to grow and all of that, so I'm kind of enjoying this. अनि तपाईँले मलाई थ्याङ्क यू भन्दै हुनुहुन्थ्यो फर इन्भाइटिङ यू एन्ड थ्याङ्क यू सो मच फर कमिङ ओभर, एक्सेप्टिङ आवर इन्भिटेसन एज वेल। सो लेट्स गेट दिस गोइङ है। आई गेभ अ सर्ट इन्ट्रोडक्सन अफ योर्स। मलाई थाहा छैन कतिको जस्टिफाइड थियो। हाउ वुड यु इन्ट्रोड्युस योरसेल्फ?
If I was to introduce myself, I would probably say, hi, like if it was just like a, not actually introducing myself to someone, but like if I had to put it onto like a bio somewhere, I'd probably say, hi, I'm Eva. I really like food, especially momos. I love crime podcasts, and I love making TikToks, and I love fashion, putting together outfits, and then obviously I'm just a fun, outgoing person who has become kind of introverted a little bit because of lockdown. That's probably how I would put it.
Eva, you said you used to be a social butterfly, an extrovert. Now you're an introvert. What has changed? What pulled you back?
Okay. So I think the main thing that has really like pulled me back from being so much out in the open space, meeting new people is in the lockdown period, I did make really, really strong connections. I made friends. Like I have my best friend, and then I have a few other friends who I love talking to. And my parents always have that quality over quantity kind of saying. So that really stuck with me. So during lockdown, I kind of like didn't push everyone away. I still have friends, but I kind of hang out with some people and then try to keep my thoughts to myself rather than telling everyone, which is what I used to do a lot. Like I used to like tell everyone about myself, and I think that kind of put me in a really vulnerable position as well. So that is an aspect that has kind of made me very, very introverted.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So Eva, so since you've kind of seen, both worlds, right? So what's the good side of being an extrovert, and what's so great about being an introvert?
Being an extrovert, you definitely get to make connections. So when I was an extrovert, I used to also reply to a lot of my DMs and then talk to people. That definitely grew my connections. Becoming an extrovert, I feel like I have more. Like, I'm not saying extroverted people don't have that space for personal growth, but I feel like now I have more time for myself, especially with the uni load, and then I have also work, which is also there.
Okay, so you basically seems like you have more time for yourself, for your own growth. You can focus on your uni stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So मैले चाहिँ कतिचोटि सुनेको छु कि भनौँ न एटलिस्ट नेपालमा चाहिँ म इन्ट्रोभर्टेड खालको मान्छे हो म आइम नट आउट गोइङ इट्स हार्ड फर मी टु मेक फ्रेन्ड्स भनिरहेको हुन्छन् अनि कोही चाहिँ आइम एन एक्सट्रोभर्ट म चुप लाएर बस्न सक्दिनँ आई क्यानट बी इन अ रुम बाई माइसेल्फ मलाई चाहिँ आई हेभ टु मिट पिपल अल द टाइम भनिरहेको हुन्छ नि त कतिजना राइट सो what do you see when people make statements like that? When you can shift from being an extrovert to an introvert, and hopefully after a few months, few years, you'll go back to being an extrovert. So if you can hop around like that, what would you say to people who label themselves as introverts and extroverts?
I think, like, I wouldn't say I'm like an extreme extrovert or extreme like introvert. I'm like right in the middle. So there was a point, and I would discuss this with my best friend a lot. Hey, like, I feel like मलाई त shops जाँदा पनि I need to talk to someone on the phone, like I need to take someone with me, again. And then in the past few months, I've just kind of been trying at least to go places by myself, because I feel like you need to kind of be within yourself for that internal peace. And I feel like now that I've been spending more time with myself, I've gotten to know myself better, know what I like, my dislikes, because before it was about people pleasing. Like, if I didn't please people, then that was the end of the world for me, like Gunsani. But I think a lot has changed. I think I like how I'm in the middle, and I'm not too much extroverted and not too much introverted to the point where I can't make friends, or to the point where I want to people please all the time. And I'm not saying people pleasing is a bad thing, but I felt like middle, like you said, that was a really bad thing, because I was always thinking about what other people thought of me. I mean, maybe I'll change myself so that I can please this person, just so bunny. Like, I had those kinds of thoughts. So I think.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, definitely. So, तपाईँको लागि चाहिँ people pleasing wasn't working. अनि तपाईँले भनिरहनु भएको चाहिँ you're not saying कि it's bad, it just didn't work for you, right? So you wanted to, and you also said कि so you also had the opportunity of learning more about yourself. अनि why is that important, Eva?
For me, that's really important, because I think I was always like, when you have like a lot of friends, you're kind of learning everything about everyone else, but you're not giving time to yourself. I would come home, like even when I'm at work, like I come home like really, really like frustrated the whole day, and I don't get like time to myself the whole day. So when I come home, I kind of have that extra peace to myself, and I like having that. And I tell my family, like, please give me some space. I really need some space. Like, before it was like, oh, like, let's go out. But now I kind of feel better that I'm giving myself space, because I can actually think about things. I mean, when I started going out so much, one of the things that happened is I started downgrading. Like, mirror grades, they went downhill. Like, but that's just me. Like, you know, some people can balance those two things. I really cannot balance like putting those two things together.
Okay, some people can, but you cannot balance those things together. मलाई चाहिँ what you've just said makes a lot of sense. तर it's also very interesting. So what you're suggesting, it seems like it all depends on our mindset, right? So if you do a lot of reflection and think about what you really need, what you want at this particular moment, you can actually change who you are and act accordingly, right? So that's definitely very, very It's a very good thing to know. And I'll try that as well. किनभने हामी चाहिँ generally we keep labeling ourselves होइन म चाहिँ यस्तो खालको मान्छे I cannot change and this is who I am भनिरहेको हुन्छ नि त. But you're saying कि because you needed, you felt the need to self-reflect and also to maybe focus on your uni a bit more, you kind of decided to change, which is awesome. Now, अलिकति lighter sides-तिर जाउँ. What are some of the reasons you're here today?
Some of the reasons on this earth? Or
here, as in on this program.
on this program. So some of the reasons I'm here today, I think when you guys reached out to me, I went through a lot of the videos and I saw, and it was kind of like, it's like kind of a guide for self-reflection as well. I'm really eager to go back and watch this video to like hear what things I say, because I haven't had the chance to do that in a long time, because I haven't had the need to give speeches like or anything like that. So I think this is like a good platform for me to go back and also reflect on what I said, and if there's obviously changes that I can make based on what I see.
Okay, based on what you see after you go back and watch it again.
Yep.
So I was wondering, what do you think would help this conversation be special for you?
Be special. I think this is already like a really good topic. I love talking about like reflection on your past self and stuff like that. I love talking about crime. I love talking about anything. Like I'm very much like 80% of the time I'm talking, and then I'm glad that I've actually given that 20% of my time to personal space, because I need my personal space now. But I think anything really can make this conversation good.
Awesome. Okay, so what do you love, Eva?
Love. So I would say I love family. I love my family. I think that would be there. And then obviously I love friends. I love people who support me. And then I love Nepal and I love Australia. I think I can't really divide the two, because I spent equal amounts of kind of time etapani. So I think I love, when I went to Nepal, I'll tell you a story. When I went to Nepal, I really felt like, I think it was like a spiritual change for myself, because I felt such a good connection with Nepal. I always tell my mom, like I want to make a house in the middle of Mustang. It's not possible for me to go and live there, but it's just like one of the aspirations I have. But I think I'm very like loving, like I love everything. Like that sounds very like it sounds very weird, but I do love everything. If I see something and you tell me something, oh, like this is like, and suddenly this is a new product, I was like, oh, like I really want to try that. That sounds really cool. Like I literally love everything. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
You literally love everything. I've never actually heard anyone say that before, but it was awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
You said you love your family. What does your family do for you?
My family. Well, I think in the past I was very keeping to myself kind of a person, and I wouldn't like share many things with my family. I would share with my friends, like, oh, this happened, that happened, but when I came home I would be really frustrated, grumpy, like I don't want to talk to you, and like how every teenager like is. And then over the years my mom has just stuck around. She's nurtured me. She's told me, like, if you don't discuss those things with us, we're not going to know how you're growing and all those things. But my family has just been there to nourish me, every situation in life. I went to Nepal for 2 years, and we always stayed in touch, and I would still tell them how everything was. And I think because they're there for me, I feel like I can achieve anything in a way, even if no one else supported me with anything.
Okay, they're there for you. Awesome. And they stuck around, you said.
Yeah, right.
Awesome. What was it like growing up in Australia? You went there when you were in grade 3, you said.
Yeah,
so
right.
What was it like?
Yeah, so when I first came here, I think it was very, very hard to adapt. I'm a person who can easily adapt to situations now, but back then it was very, very hard for me to adapt. I came here and my English wasn't that great. I was only like 7 and my English wasn't that great, and it was very hard making connections or even making friends. But years later, when I went back to Nepal, I felt the exact same way. And it's so weird how that took a turn for me, but I felt the exact same way. But I think it was just a very hard process for me. But then I think 8 months later, I found myself speaking very fluently in English, and I made some good friends. And one of the friends that I made when I first came here, I'm still in touch with her. So I think it was the good and the bad.
It was the good and the bad, and also the challenges you talked about. If you look back now and look at those challenges, right? You struggled with your English, hard. You struggled making friends and all of that. How do you think those challenges has shaped you to be a better person today?
I think with hardships we grow. So with every hardship, like even though I went through that situation at an early age, because I went back to Nepal when I was 15, I went through the same situation, but I never thought, oh, mata your situation, but go. Like I didn't think like that. Like all I would think was, oh, like I can't do this. Like like I remember so this was one of the situations that really made an impact when I went to Nepal. I went to Nepal and I think maybe Australian accent isn't that heard of in Nepal. When I tried to give a speech, everyone laughed at me, and I never thought like, oh my situation, but I can get over this one. I thought that was the end of my world. About the sakki sakyo. And I was like, oh, this is so bad. And I remember crying about it. But I think it has shaped me in such a way that I am so much more confident than I was before. And I like to voice things now. If something goes wrong, I like to voice what's wrong. In the past, because of those certain situations, I would stay quiet. I would be like, no, I don't, it's fine. Like, like it's just how the world is. But now I kind of like, if something wrong is happening, I definitely do like to speak up about those things.
Okay, definitely would like to speak up. Awesome. ओके सो नेपालबाट चाहिँ माइग्रेट हुने फ्यामिलीजहरू पनि थुप्रै हुन्छ नि त, राइट? नट जस्ट टु अस्ट्रेलिया, हुन त अब अस्ट्रेलियालाई नेपालीहरूले जिस्केर चाहिँ 8th स्टेट नेपालको भनेर हुन्छन्, किनभने एभ्री वान्स गोइङ देयर भनेर। तर दे माइग्रेट एभ्रिवेयर, होइन? अमेरिका पनि गइरहेको हुन्छन्, युरोप पनि गइरहेको हुन्छन्। सो व्हाट वुड योर सजेसन टु प्यारेन्ट्स बी के हु हेभ small kids, and they're migrating with small kids, maybe they're like 4 5 years old, 7 10 years old. Your suggestion to parents would be to for the how to best prepare for this transition?
I think both my parents are very quiet people, and they like to keep to themselves. And when I was growing up, although my parents would talk to me, I never got the opportunity to actually share anything with them because they didn't create that mutual ground where I could share stuff with them. And even if I got like bullied at school or stuff, I wouldn't share with them because I thought like, because so why would I share with them just a lactio? But I think when you are transitioning to a new place, or even if you live in Nepal, I think you need to tell your kids that, oh, like if anything goes wrong, I'm here for you. Like my parents did say that, but I was just very, very nervous to even share, like, oh, this happened in school today, like, oh, like Malay like I couldn't even say that. I mean, I think parents just need to create like a ground for their kids to actually come to them and share with them their experiences, so they can nurture them in a way where they won't kind of felt left out or anything like that.
Okay, that sounds really useful. तर यसलाई चाहिँ if you could say, okay, यो 2-3 कुरा चाहिँ बुलेट पोइन्टमा, maybe talk to them regularly हुन्छ कि, अथवा what would have helped you better, okay, so that other parents can, if they're thinking of migrating,
Right.
I don't know, postponing it by 2 or 3 years would help. Even if they can't, maybe there's something they can do in terms of bullet points that you can help with.
Yeah. I think have your kids with you at the earliest you can, so because they can help them nurture, right? And then the second point would probably be listen to your kids' problems, because they're just kids. I know some things that they say can be wrong, but they always have a point that they kind of know what they're talking about too. So listen to your kids and their problems. And then the other thing would probably be like kind of have like family time to be able to talk.
Okay, family time to be able to talk भनेपछि एउटा safe space जस्तो जहाँ चाहिँ they can just speak up, होइन, where they're not probably not judged or anything. तपाईँले त्यो word त use गर्नु भएको छैन, तर मैले आफ्नै wordsहरू use गरेँ. Correct me if I'm saying including words that you're not intending to mention.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, मैले चाहिँ भनौँ न आफ्नो इफ आई रिमेम्बर माई पास्ट, जब चाहिँ म 10-12 वर्षको 13-14 वर्षको थिएँ, सो आई क्यान थिङ्क अफ फन मेमोरिज के, जहाँ चाहिँ म चोर पुलिस खेलिरहेको, हाइड एन्ड सिक खेलेको, अथवा 7 स्टोन भन्ने बलले हानेर त्यो ढुङ्गाहरू ढाल्ने गेम्सहरू खेलिरहेको याद आउँछ, होइन, अनि ब्रिङ्स अ स्माइल टु माई फेस. वाट आर सम अफ योर फन मेमोरिज अफ प्लेइङ when you're younger?
Like games? I think we played very similar games. I remember my little sister, she was very, very loud. Every time we would play games in the house, we would play like tip on it, let's say, like, when you run and then you tip the other person and then like they have to tip you back. Yeah. So we would play tip and hide and seek. And she would run around the house and she would be like screaming her head off. She would, like I'd be like behind her and she would be like screaming. And I think those are like very fun memories with my little sister. And obviously playing with my friends, we just used to play like similar games as well.
Awesome. तपाईँको त्यो सुन्दाखेरि पनि I think you and your sister get along quite well, and you're very lucky to have each other जस्तो छ, होइन?
Yeah.
अघि पनि तपाईँले सायद 2-3 चोटि भनिसक्नुभयो, क्वालिटी ओभर क्वान्टिटी इन टर्म्स अफ फ्रेन्ड, होइन. सो बेसिकली you're saying you're going to have fewer friends that are good friends, होइन. So what kind of people do you invite into your friend circle के, जहाँ चाहिँ you kind of accept them as friends?
Yeah, so I do like talking to everyone. I do still interact with a lot of people, but there's certain people that I tell my goals and what I'm about to do next and what's coming. So those people that I would invite would probably have to be really caring and then really kind, someone who's down to listen to what I want to put out, and then I would do the same for them, obviously. Someone who's very, very funny, someone who's outgoing, and wants to go to new places, try new things. I think that those qualities kind of make up like a good friend for me. And that's like my best friend, really. But yeah.
So you basically thought of your best friend and described.
Yeah.
Awesome. Why do you think friends are important?
Friends. I think friends are very important. I think friends help you learn what's good in life and also bad. So there's going to be bad people that you meet, there's going to be good people that you meet, but I think friends kind of just like stick around, and there's going to be some friends who are really, really like close to you, and I remember like the silly fights are with them, but then like you kind of forgive them for it because they're your friends, you know. I think friends are really important because it also helps us it helps nurture us and helps with our growth as well, because I think a lot of the times I found myself following in my friends' footsteps, even if it was bad or good, you know. So I do feel like friends do nurture you a little bit. They're like mothers, but not really.
Okay, they're like mothers, but not really. So they kind of fill in the gaps, maybe, you know, जहाँ चाहिँ प्यारेन्ट्सहरूले चाहिँ because they cannot, because I don't know, maybe because parents are emotionally tied, they cannot really see the whole bigger picture. त्यहाँ ग्याप्सहरू भएको ठाउँमा चाहिँ maybe friends can come in. I don't know.
Yeah,
that makes
right.
sense?
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. You've said ki you love putting together outfits ani त्यसपछि and also doing your makeup. What do these actually do for you?
So I remember when I was like, I got into makeup very early. So I was like 12 and I would watch all these makeup tutorials and I would watch like these hair videos and I would just like sit there all day doing my makeup. And I remember I actually taught my older cousin how to do makeup at when I was younger. Like I was very, very into those things. I only got into like putting together outfits like last year is when I like wanted to like coordinate these outfits. Like, and now what I do is I put on outfits, I take a photo of them and I store it in my album, which has like, these are the outfits I'm gonna wear. But I'm very, very much into that because I think when I was younger, it kind of gave me space to learn for creativity as well. And also, it didn't like let me be alone, even though like I didn't feel like I had free time or anything. I was always doing something, and I think I was doing my makeup a lot.
Okay, so kind of helped your creativity one way. So it's not just about fashion or makeup matra haina कि there's some intrinsic value you get out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. What is one side of you that people rarely see?
One side of me, definitely the sad part. When I'm crying, I don't tell anyone that I'm crying. I kind of like to like I kind of move myself away from the situation, and I only cry with like a certain few people. To be honest, I'm like still embarrassed to cry in front of people because like not because they'll judge me, just because I don't want them to see my crying face funny. But I think that's one of the sides that rarely people ever see of me.
Okay. So the vulnerable side चाहिँ you
Yeah.
kind of keep it private. कसैलाई नदेखाउने होइन तर you show it to only people that are very close to you, right? So that
Yeah.
makes sense. तपाईँले अघि मेकअपको बारेमा पनि अथवा त्यो आउटफिटको बारेमा पनि कुरा गर्दाखेरि you talked about creativity अनि that basically is के भन्ने part of expressing yourself होइन. So what does self-expression mean to you?
Self-expression to me. Self-expression to me is usually to do with colors. I like playing around with colors, and see what I'm very like, because I'm a very outgoing person and stuff. I think I like to associate myself with colors and then like kind of wear those clothes. And I wear a lot of jewelry as well. I think that's also a form of self-expression for me. Like, because yeah, I like, but you'll see me in my photos. Like I don't wear like I do a lot of like I deal a lot with colors more than before it was like black, white, but now it's like a few different colors that I like to engage myself with.
Okay, before it was black or white. हामी सायद young एउटा फेज नै हुन्छ हामी चाहिँ we go towards black अथवा white तिर जान्छौँ अनि त्यो फेज सकेपछि we go more towards colors होइन. So when you talk about colors, Eva, if you wear one color, and if you had to choose one color for yourself as your identity, what color would you be?
I would probably choose red because I'm very much, I think it's very much associated with love. And then obviously because I'm a crime fanatic, I love crime. So red is also associated with blood and stuff, and I'm obsessed with murder and like all those stories. So that part, but then again, mostly love, because I think love to me is very, very important, whether it be family, familial relationships, or even like just friends. I think that definitely creates a big impact in my life. Like if anything happens to those who I love, that will create like a huge impact. So I do think I do think red is kind of my color.
Okay, red is kind of your color. Awesome. And you also talked about your love for going out to eat. The reason you love to go out and eat is because
Okay, so when I say go out to eat, it's like 90% of the time it's always momone kanatane. Like with my friends, like we're like, okay, like let's plan, like we need to go somewhere different this time. But it's always like we always end up going to this one place here in Sydney. It's called the Momo Hub. Momo's Hub and I think it's also the atmosphere that the owners form for us. Like they're very, very nice and they always like get so excited when they see us. So I think that's one of the things that kind of pulls me to them. But I think the reason why I love to go out to eat because I get to eat momos. Like I don't really see myself. You'll really rarely see me going out to eat at other places because if I want to eat other food, I usually just like order it. But if I want to go out and eat, it's usually just momo khanazane.
ओके मोमो खान जाने एकदमै टिपिकल नेपाली बिहेभियर भयो हाम्रो जो साथीभाइहरू रेस्टुरेन्ट गयो भने पनि 15-20 मिनट्स मेनुहरू पल्टाएर हेरिरहेको हुन्छन् अनि तर एन्डमा गएर अर्डर चाहिँ मोमो नै गर्छन् कि जति So you also talked about obsessing with TikTok. You're obsessing word. What does that mean for you?
So I've been like always obsessing what obsessing means. Like, oh, I like love making TikToks. Like, it doesn't matter like what it is. Like, I think I had at one point I had like 1,000 drafts. Like, I'll just sit there, like I'm bored. Okay, open TikTok because this, kind of like helps me not be bored. But I've just been like always because TikTok. I think people see. I remember when at this one phase, like few of my classmates used to be like, "Oh, that's cringy. Like we don't like TikTok." But I don't know why I always love TikTok. Like it kind of like you also get to express yourself in a way in these videos. But then again, you kind of get to make other people laugh, and I like cry watching TikTok sometimes. There's like sad stories, and then there's true crime. I follow a lot of true crime on TikTok as well. So obsessed. I am definitely like obsessed with TikTok. So very much in love with TikTok.
Okay. Obsessed भनेपछि चाहिँ it is equal to love. So you're in love with TikTok. Awesome. So looking at your challenges in life, so you've gone through quite a bit, and you've shared some challenges with us. सबै त पक्कै पनि सेयर गर्नु भएन. I'm sure it was much harder than what you've just said. तर यो challengesहरूबाट जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ a lot of people can give up, can के भन्ने अब their lives could be impacted in a very negative way. But you've kind of pulled yourself through. What are 3 skill sets do you think you have that made you strong enough to kind of go through all of these challenges even when you were so young and be so brave about this thing?
Yeah, so one of the qualities I think I have is I'm very good with compromising with situations. So that's one of the things. I'm very good with adaptation now. So from the years I've taken that I'm very good at adaptation because there's so many changes happening consistently. Like I went to Nepal, came back, went to Nepal, and then went from high school to uni. So I think that has been pretty crazy for me now. And another skill set that I kind of have is being patient. So I do feel like I am very patient about a lot of things. I think my mom and dad don't think I'm very patient, but I do feel like I am very, very patient with a lot of things.
Okay, you think you're very patient with a lot of things. And I think parents can be wrong sometimes. So what's actually happening in your head in terms of, you talked about the speech that had been because of your accent, people laughing, and you think this is the end of the world. When you're going through the challenges, what is the dialogue in your head?
Yeah.
And how kind of deal with it? Because you said when you're at point you were crying, you said this is the end of the world, you're laughing at me, and so what do you do to kind of get out of it?
Yeah, I think talking to someone definitely helps. But again, I also, like I said, I like having my personal space. there is people who don't understand that people need personal space, and I think that bothers me the most. Because but I think usually what's going through my head is, I think one of the biggest thing that kind of impacted me was not fitting in. Like, it's like you're in the middle. Like, you're not fully Nepalese, but you're not fully Australian, so you're just in the middle of these two groups, but you don't fit in like perfectly anywhere. And that was like a thing that kind of that I kind of struggled with for a long time. But now, being 18, coming through all these things, and I think one of the things that really, really helped me is my parents. Like, my parents have always been there, and my mom and me, we're closer than ever. But I think, yeah, those are the kinds of things that always like kind of were in my head, and I usually overcame them by just taking my personal space. Because after having everyone just like I think usually problems arise from other people, so I like to kind of like stay away from other people for a bit, unless it's a problem created by myself. I talk to someone else, but usually when it's a problem created by someone else, I like to stay away from them, or stay away from the situation and just have a drink.
Okay, stay away from other people, especially if the problem is being created by them. Have a think, have a drink. That sounds awesome. तर त्यो भने चाहिँ के are you time you also talked about personal space. So do you kind of sit in your room, self-reflect, write it all down? What's the actual process that's actually happening?
I did used to write my feelings when I was little. So I had like this little notebook, and I would write all my feelings in them. And then one day my mom found them. So from then, I haven't like really written all my feelings down in a notebook ever. But I do like to self-reflect, and then usually I don't move myself completely away from the situation. But if someone does try to talk to me, I'm just like, hey, I need like about 5 minutes to talk. Because in the past, I've never been able to tell people what I need. Like, I've never been able to say no, like, I don't want to talk at the moment. I've always been like, okay. Like, even if it was like, kind of like not okay with me, I've been acting like it's okay with me. So now I tell them, hey, like, I just need personal space. This is just how I am. And I think that helps a lot. And then I just sit in a corner, do my normal stuff. But I don't really take time out of my day to self-reflect. But I do kind of just go on with my normal day and not let it affect me as much.
Okay, awesome. मेरो एउटा साथी थियो जसले चाहिँ भनौँ न, the thing that she kept telling herself was, you can do anything. Whenever she kind of had doubts about herself, you can do anything भनेर चाहिँ she would keep repeating it to herself. What are some of the most powerful things you tell yourself?
I think one of the most powerful things I tell myself is, in regards to family, I like to tell myself that, oh, like, my mom, dad, ani mero mamuko baini, like my auntie, she's also always there for me. And I like to like tell myself, oh, these people are always here for you. This is just a little thing that you're going through, and it's all going to be over soon. Another thing I tell myself is like, oh, you're strong, you can get over this. It's just like a little phase. Like, I just like to remind myself of the good things in life. And if it's like a really, really hard situation, it's like, it'll be fine. I kind of like act very cruisy, but then like inside it's like a like your legs feel like jelly and all those kinds of things. But I do like to remind myself of the nice things in life and what I have.
Okay, remind yourself of the nice things you have. Eva, so if you kind of think back now, what do you think is an ideal age if someone is thinking of migrating to a Western country? What would you say is an ideal age to migrate, to be able to adapt, to cope with all the cultural changes and cultural shocks and everything?
I do think that it's better to go to a foreign country at an early age rather than in the middle where you're kind of developing all these other things and then your hormones are kicking in, all those things. I think it's better to migrate at an early age or at an age where you kind of know how to control things and living by yourself as you do when you're older. And I think for me, I came at the perfect time, but I think I thought to myself, maybe I should have came earlier. I think 7, is like a good age, or if you're really little, because at that age I had also learned fluently. I was really, really fluent in Nepali, and Nepali पनि लेख्न आउँथ्यो, सबै गर्न आउँथ्यो, and I had very good knowledge of my culture and my heritage. But then I also got to learn another culture and another language where I could process everything. I think it's better if you can't process anything or you can process everything.
Okay, either you cannot process anything or process everything. Okay, that makes sense. What would you say, when you got to Australia, what would you say was your most challenging year?
My most challenging year. When I got to Australia, the first year was definitely the most hardest. I think it became more it became less harder over as the years went on. The first year was definitely the hardest for me. I remember trying to give my first speech in school. So when I was in primary school, they would make us do impromptu speeches. So they would come up with a topic, and even if they gave me like this easiest topic in the world, like tell me about this door, I would not be able to tell them. I wouldn't be able to say anything, because as soon as I got up on the stage, I would wriggle my toes to try and be less nervous. I would do all these sorts of things, but I would be sweating, but I would not be able to get a single word out of my mouth. I think not being able to communicate and not being able to make friends, and then obviously the cultural differences, because I lived in a very white neighborhood. The cultural differences, I remember wearing tika to school because we had a puja ek din and this vachi. I remember wearing tika and they were like, oh, what's that on your head? And I remember telling them, oh, it's pain to I think being very confused about where you stand. I think the first year made it really hard for me.
First year. मलाई चाहिँ धेरै जसो एडल्टहरूले चाहिँ चाइल्डहुड चाहिँ एकदमै रमाइलो थियो, वाज इजी, टिनेज लाइफ पनि एकदमै इजी थियो, आई विश आई कुड गो ब्याक इन टाइम भनिरह हुन्छ नि, तर आइ एम नट द्याट किन है। मलाई चाहिँ आई थिङ्क वेन युआर रियली स्मल वर्ल्ड इज भेरी च्यालेन्जिङ होइन। टिनेज लाइफमा पनि इट्स नट इजी, आई डोन्ट थिङ्क उहिले बरु चाहिँ आई क्यान लाइफ इज stressful, but I make my own decisions, I make my own mistakes. I know एकदमै सानो हुँदाखेरि त you're at the mercy of adults. I don't think it's as fun as a lot of us think. So Eva, if you could travel back in time, and you meet Eva of that time, when you were 7.5 years old, and you meet this small Eva, she's right there in front of you, and you know what challenges she's gone through and she's going to go through. Your advice to that little Eva, life advice to that little Eva would be what?
So my life advice to that little Eva would probably be kind of don't care what anyone else says, and also be confident, because I think I lacked a lot of confidence. That also made me feel all these other emotions that I shouldn't have been feeling at such a young age, where I should have been just not being worrying about those things. I think I would go back and tell her, oh, these people, it won't matter to you in 5 years. In 5 years' time, none of this will matter, and you'll only look back at the good stuff, and you'll look back at the bad stuff and be like, ha ha ha, this happened. It doesn't even affect me. So I'd just tell her, be confident. Don't be afraid to show people what your actual potential is. I think that I would probably tell her that.
Beautiful. The advice चाहिँ म पनि लिइरहन्छु. I think that would be quite helpful as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Eva, you've talked about being a people pleaser, and you've talked about your challenges in migration, adaptation, and all that. How do you see those two connected somehow?
Adaptation and migration.
Your challenges, with adapting to Australian culture, and you being a people pleaser in the past, not now. So how do you see any connections there?
Any connections? Like while I was migrating, because I was very little, I don't really see myself as being a people pleaser, because I remember leaving Nepal and not being able to like really resonate with what was happening, because I was so young. Like I never felt like sad or like I wasn't happy, like because I didn't really know where I was going. It was very new to me. And I think the people pleasing part really came when I got a little bit older, into my kind of tween years, like 12, 13. It wasn't really, there was none of that back then. I think then I was pretty careless about everything in the world.
Okay, nice. Now, Eva, 3 of your proudest moments in life.
3 of my proudest moments. I think one of my proudest moments is being able to write and read in Nepali again. That was very, very good. I felt so good. I remember I telling my mom, hey, like I passed, like Nepali mani pass bhayo, like like I think that was just like so good, like that was just like a great feeling. And the second thing probably is overcoming my fear of talking to other people, talking in front of a wide audience, or talking or giving a speech, even that, because I was very shy as a kid and I would often keep to myself and I wouldn't be able to talk in front of a whole audience. And I think that was a very proud moment for myself. And then the third thing is being able to do things on your own. So like I said before, I used to be like, I used to tell my best friend, like, like even if I want to go down to the shops, like I'd be like, hey, like, can you stay on the call with me? Like, can you come with me? And now it's more like, okay, Ma, I'm just going down to the shops and it's all fine. I think being able to be by myself and having that peace within myself is very nice as well. So that's a very proud thing for me.
Super nice. So I've seen a lot of people, I hesitate to start a conversation. So you said you used to be afraid of starting a conversation.
Yeah.
So you advise to people who hesitate to start a conversation, there's a dialogue going in your head, मैले बोलेको केही गल्ती हुन्छ कि, maybe that person will laugh at me, जे पनि हुन सक्छ, right? So you kind of think about starting a conversation, but you kind of go back into yourself, and you just the whole idea disappears, and you don't make new friends. So यसरी hesitate गरिरहने मान्छेलाई चाहिँ, how would you encourage them?
I would probably say do it, because I feel like, so I was very much like that even until the start of this year, until I started my new job. And then at my new job, I'm kind of forced to talk to people. Like I have to talk to them, where I won't make commissions, so I have to talk to them. I think one of the things is just push yourself. Like I would be like, hey, like you only live once, go talk to them, go talk to who you want to talk to, express your feelings. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. I think you learn from the mistakes, and I'm sure you'll get better at talking as time goes on.
Okay, push yourself. And if you're wrong, right? So अलिकति risk लिन चाहिँ, I think you're right. हामीले अलिअलि आफूलाई push गरेनौँ भने nothing will come of it.
Yeah.
अनि forensic science. Why forensic science?
Okay. This is a long story, but I'll try and keep it short because I talk a lot and then I try to drift off into my own world. But okay, so basically, I remember in the start of year 12 being like, hey, I really want to do fashion designing. This is really, really what I want to do. And I remember even working for a fashion, like a runway thing, as a social media manager. And for a few weeks. But I remember doing that, and then I was like, oh, this is not my liking. I don't like it anymore. So I remember being like, okay, I want to be an accountant. I think I'll do accounting. But then again, I was doing business, and I was like, oh, this isn't my cup of tea either, so let me move on to something else. And I was studying law in year 12 as well. So I was like, okay, maybe law is my thing because I'm so obsessed with crime. I could do criminology and all these things. But then when I got into the depths of it, like when I started looking into it, it wasn't really what I wanted to do. So I finished high school, and then I got an offer for accounting, and I was like, oh wow, this is what I wanted to do. Like, this is God's way of telling me you should do it. And then I remember being like, Mom, I'm gonna do accounting. And my mom was like, oh, you keep changing your mind, I'm sure you'll change it. And then I got an offer for science, and then I was like, oh, forensic science, that's very cool. And then my mom's like, you're gonna change this one too. And I've stuck out with it for a few months. So I've done one semester. So I'm just hoping that I'll stick onto it because it's very interesting. It's what I'm interested in. I'm very, very scared of horror movies, and it's literally just like people just screaming in your faces, right? But I'm not scared of the nitty gritty. Like, I'm not like this. There'll be like trigger warning. So there'll be like, and then there was like this TikTok, and it was like, oh, his head was sliced off, his nose was cut off. And listening to those things, it gets me it makes me so interested because I want to know what goes through these people's head. And I kind of want to give, in a way, justice to people through forensic science. And I'm hoping that I can do more out of my degree.
Okay, awesome. Okay, कहिलेकाहीँ प्यारेन्ट्सहरू राइट पनि हुँदो रहेछ होइन, सो your mother was right.
Yeah, right.
So Eva, mistakes you've made in life that you wouldn't want others to make?
So one of the mistakes that I made in life that I wouldn't want others to make is probably not being able to say no to other people, or being a big people pleaser, and obviously wanting to make sure that they're okay, but even if I wasn't okay with the situation. And then another thing is probably being ashamed of my culture. I think there was a point in life where I was very not in touch with my culture, and I didn't really want to be involved in all that. I think that is a big thing that I went through, and I think I really recommend people don't kind of move themselves away from their culture, because that can create a lot of impact. And another thing is probably like the thing I talked about, quality over quantity. I think not like telling your business to everyone, and then just keeping like a small circle that you tell people your ambitions and your goals and stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. अहिलेको संसार नै अब भनौँ न, have as many friends as possible होइन. फेसबुकमा पनि they kind of judged by how many friends you have or followers you have on Instagram and all of that. So you think quantity is not ideal, but maybe make this circle smaller, that are more trustworthy, more quality friends, right?
Right, yeah.
Awesome. So Eva, you've mentioned culture numerous times, right? And culture is important because
I feel like in a way culture does define us, because everyone from the world has such different cultures. And I think our culture is very, very different. We have so many things. And in a way it does define how we celebrate things, or how we live in a way. Like, we have our own guidelines, not really guidelines, but certain things that we don't do. Like, Hindus don't eat beef, and that kind of like I think that kind of separates us from the rest of the world and gives us like that kind of defines us.
Okay, so culture defines us, and culture defining us is important because
it kind of gives you your own identity. When you meet people, I think you can also interact with them. You can have shared experiences with other people. You can have different experiences. So you can meet people from the same culture and discuss those things, whereas you can meet people from other cultures, discuss those things, and then you have And in a way, I feel like cultures are very much they're very similar in a way. So you can always find connection with people. But I do think culture is important because you can find that connection with other people as well.
And connection with other people is important because
Connection with other people is important because I think you kind of get to learn more things about yourself and then learn more things about other people, and it kind of teaches you what kind of people you should be around, what kind of people you shouldn't be around, and gives you an insight of what they're like and what other people are like, what the world is like in a way.
Okay, awesome. Nation, right? So the whole idea of nation, nationality, and nationalism sounds a little outdated in the present world. Um, how do you see the utility of nations in this present day and age? Do we even need them?
Nations, I think it's how you identify yourself in a way, because I don't think like a single piece of paper that says, oh, this is your nationality, but this is where you were born, does anything, because I feel more interconnected to Nepal more than I feel connected to Australia in a way, because that's where I grew up, that's where I was born. And I think nationality is just a piece of paper kind of thing. It doesn't really make a big difference. And I think everyone in the world just needs to love each other, and we just need to have happiness and peace. And I think that would change a lot for us.
Yeah, everyone needs to love each other, definitely. Eva, I think you've also mentioned God once, right? So I don't know if you're a believer or atheist, agnostic, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But let's just say this universe has a plan for everyone, right? So this universe has a story for you, a story for me, everyone. Why do you think this universe gave this specific life to you?
So I'm a very, like you said, you brought up something about God. I'm very, I believe in God a lot. There was a point because I didn't believe in religion, so I was very far away from God and everything. And I do feel like I very, very much believe in God. And I think God has, or the universe has put me here just to, in a way, to take care of my little sister as well. Because I remember when I was little, like to guide, so as like a guidance kind of thing, because when I was little, I remember I used to tell her, like, we had these like late night sessions where I would teach her about life lessons, and I was only like 14, but I would teach her all these things and I would never find myself implementing. But even until like today, I think God has sent me in a way to guide people, because I find myself sometimes telling my mom, like, oh, like, don't, like, don't do this, do this, do this, blah blah blah. And then I find myself like, my little sister even asked me, like, oh, this happened, like, let me tell you. And I think guidance, and then the other thing is probably kindness, and then love. I think God has put me in this earth for those things.
Guidance, kindness, and then love. Okay, awesome. So Eva, we're towards the end of the session. We've crossed the 1 hour mark. I've got a few more questions, but hopefully it won't be more than 4. But
Okay.
I'm not really good at keeping count, but I'll try and do 4. You talked about God and religion. What's the difference?
I think so God is very much interrelated to religion, and I think what we see as a religion, and then like we obviously worship God, and then God's in that religion. But I feel like I do have a lot of respect for all the religions. The main God that I really focus on is Buddha, because I feel like he has like this thing, how he was very selfish, and I feel like us humans are very, very selfish. Like, if someone put you in a situation where you had to kind of life or death situation, and you had to choose, would the other person live or would you live, you'd definitely pick yourself. And I think Buddha is one of the most realistic kinds of God, mirror lagi. So I like to think that obviously Buddha is my like ideal god, but I feel like all the religions are very similar. Like we all have that certain book that we read, and then it tells us, oh, be kind to everyone and everything. So it's not this particular god that I believe in, but I do believe there is a heavenly being that kind of guides the earth in a way. If
Okay,
that makes
nice.
sense.
That does make sense. बुद्धको बारेमा चाहिँ सोच्दाखेरि पनि इज मोर ह्युमन होइन, इट्स इजी टु रिलेट टु हिम होइन, उसमा पनि फ्लजहरू थियो भन्दाखेरि इट्स मोर एक्सेप्टेबल जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई पनि. नाइसली सेड. Who are some of the people that are helping you grow outside of your family?
Outside of your family. So one of the biggest impacts that was made in my life yesterday, I meant last year when I was doing my HSCs was one of my teachers. She would sit down with me constantly, tell me like, oh, like even if you don't do well in your HSCs, everything is going to be fine. So that, I think teachers do make a big impact in your life if they're very, very supportive. And then obviously my friends. I do like to read like articles on the internet. So I sometimes read like all these so one of the things I do is I search up, if anything happens, I search on Google. Like, let's say, oh, like this happened to me today. Like, let's say my coworker was very angry to me today, like angry at me today. Like, I'll search up like, why is my coworker angry at me, and like, what can I do to help resolve this? Like, I'm a very like, I need to know the answers, so I always go on Google, and then I'll search up the question, and then I'll just read through it until I'm like satisfied. But I do think the internet has also helped me a lot with obviously those things.
Okay, internet has helped you a lot as well.
Yeah.
If you didn't have to worry about money or worry about anyone else, right? You had enough for everyone around you, everyone you loved. What would you be doing at the moment?
At the moment, I would probably be spending time. I would probably build a house in Mustang, like I said, and then I would go live there with the Tibetan Mastiff. And then, yeah, that's basically how I'd live my life if there was nothing in the world that I had to worry about.
Wow, okay. Nice. What is one thing that you've been wanting to do, but there's this fear in the back of your mind holding you back?
Definitely go to Nepal and then build a house in Mustang and live with a Tibetan Mastiff. That's that's something that I really, really want to do, because I feel very connected whenever I go to Nepal. And I really, really want to do that, but obviously there's so many other things that will come in the way of me being able to achieve that.
Okay, awesome. Last question, मैले हुन त चारवटा भनेको थिएँ, चारवटा gone. One extra bonus question, just to end it on a positive note. 5 things that you're grateful for at the moment in your life.
5 things. Shelter, food, family, friends, and then definitely God, because I always turn to God if anything happens, so I can't miss that. So definitely Buddha, family, friends, and then all that. Yeah, the things that I listed.
Nice. So Eva, thank you so much for accepting our invitation to come on this session. I absolutely learned a lot from you, and I am inspired by the struggles that you've gone through and how you overcame all of those stuff. Right? So I cannot even begin to imagine as someone as young as 7, 8 years old having to adjust to a foreign culture, foreign language. I know so it's like you must have been a scary.
Yeah, right.
And you've kind of I'm sure there's still some fragments left somewhere about it's not an easy thing. That you've come such a long way and you've done it so bravely, courageously, and there's so much to learn from you, right? In terms of dealing with challenges and failures and setbacks. And thank you so much. I've learned immensely from you. अनि मैले before I hand it over to you, I would like to ask the viewers to also please subscribe. हामी खासै यसबाट we're not getting anything financial out of this. We're just getting opportunities to talk to amazing people like Eva and so many other young people. Generally हामी भन्छौँ कि हामीभन्दा younger मान्छेबाट हामीले सिक्न सक्दैनौँ भनेर. Actually they have such immense amount of knowledge, wisdom, and it's I think we're absolutely wrong if we think we can learn from younger people. They were पनि subscribe गरिदिनु होला. So over to you, Eva. Anything you would want to add? Ani, you close the session for us, and once you say goodbye to everyone, Srina will close it for us.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think I definitely learned a lot about myself as well from the questions, and thank you for anyone who's watching. And yeah, this was a great session. I think I definitely got to understand myself a little better. But yeah, I think that's everything, and thank you so much for having me.
नेपालमा सर्वाधिक डाउनलोड गरिएको हाम्रो पात्रो एप तपाईका लागि सधैँ सजिलो, सबै सजिलो। तपाई पनि डाउनलोड गर्नुहोस् किनकि यसमा सबै छ।